I'll be reading Creole. Romper, stomper, bomper, boo. Tell me, do. Magic mirror, did all my friends today have fun at play? Today I see Holden, Emma, Olive, Claire, Dylan, Braden, and Nolan.
Creole, written by Stephen Cosgrove, illustrated by Robin James. On a foggy morning in the land of the swamp, from a battered, speckled egg, Creole was born. She was big, fat, and very, very ugly. She had warts on her fingers, warts on her toes, bony, pointed knees, and a big, flat nose. Beneath all of that which made her so ugly was the most beautiful heart that had ever beat anywhere in the world. Because of her beautiful heart, Creole thought the most beautiful thoughts that could ever be thought. She thought of love, for her heart was full of love. She thought of happiness, for her heart was full of happiness. And she thought of tenderness, for she was the gentlest of all the creatures. Day in and day out, she would sit alone, sniffing the flowers and talking to the trees that grew in the swamp. One day, as she was sitting near a large magnolia tree, Creole thought, maybe I should share my love and happiness with the other creatures of the swamp. So with that in mind, she set off to find some animals that could become her friends. As noisy as the swamp could be with all the animals living there, it would fall into a silent hush as Creole walked by. The birds became quiet, the possums sat still, and the alligators all slipped away. They all thought that because she was so fat and ugly, she just had to be mean too. Creole looked and looked, but she could not find a friend at all. Finally, with watermelon-sized tears falling at her feet, she sat with a heavy thump on an old broken stump and cried and cried. Why won't anyone listen to me, she sobbed. The only thing I want in the whole world is just to have someone tell me my happy thoughts to. The tears rolled over her cheeks, bounced off her belly, slipped and slid down the log, and finally landed with a large kerplunk on top of a baby alligator sitting just below. The little alligator looked around to see who had been throwing water on him, when suddenly from above came another large tear, kerplunk. He looked up, way up, and saw Creole. Why are you crying on me? Started the alligator. Creole looked down and spied the smallest, most pathetic alligator she had ever seen. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I didn't know you were down there. The last thing I wanted to do in the whole world was hurt someone. Wiping a tear from her eye, Creole suddenly realized that the little alligator had not run away, but was actually talking with her. Why didn't you run away like everyone else? Asked Creole. Because I hope you will be my friend, stuttered the alligator. The other alligators all laugh at me because I stutter and can't talk straight. They looked into each other's eyes and realized that they were what each of them was looking for, a friend. For the longest time, Creole and her newfound friend sat and shared their friendship. After a while, Creole said, "It's too bad you and I don't have more friends. I wonder what we could do to convince the other creatures not to laugh at you and not be afraid of me." The alligator nodded his head in agreement, and the two of them tried to figure out a way to talk to the other animals of the swamp. I know what we shall do, Creole said. I can hide behind a big bush, and you can stand in front. When all the animals have gathered round, I'll tell you what to say. You can talk about love and happiness. Well, the alligator reluctantly agreed, and with Creole hidden behind a lilac bush, he nervously called out the other animals. A couple of times he got so scared he tried to hide, but each time she would gently shove him back out and tell him not to be afraid. Now, the other animals of the swamp, not seeing Creole around, knew that it was safe to come out and listen to all the little alligator had to say. One by one, they all crept from the bushes, the berries, and the waters of the swamp. There were 4 or 5 big old alligators, a couple of small ones, 2 yellow snakes, and a blue one, 23 birds of feather, and a lazy possum and his wife, and a great white heron. With all the creatures gathered around, the little alligator began repeating what Creole was whispering to him. He told them about the beauty of the early morning dawn and about the sunset over the swamp. He talked of love, beauty, and most of all, friendship. The animals were all amazed at what the alligator was saying and how clearly he was saying it. For you see, when the alligator didn't have to make up what he said, he didn't stutter at all. Everything would have been all right if it had not been for a nosy squirrel who happened to peek behind the bush that Creole was whispering from. The squirrel let out a yelp and shouted, "Run as fast as you can! The big ugly creature is back!" Creole was so shocked at being discovered that she tripped on the bush, scaring the creatures even more. "Wait, wait," she cried. "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to be your friends." But the creatures wouldn't listen, and scrambling over one another, they ran away. The little alligator chased after them, shouting in a very clear voice, "Stop! Creole is my friend, and she would never hurt anyone." The other creatures, who by this time were hid in the bushes, listened to the little alligator, and suddenly a wise old owl spoke from the branches over a pine tree. "Perhaps we should believe him," he said, "for his ugly friend Creole has stopped him from stuttering." Sure enough, during all the excitement of chasing the creatures, the little alligator hadn't stuttered a single word. Sheepishly, all the creatures went back to where Creole was sadly waiting, with the little alligator leading the way. "Creole," said the little alligator, "all my fellow creatures of the swamp are sorry that they judged you by how you look. But if you will forgive them, they will love to hear you talk of all the happiness in your heart." With a radiant smile overcoming her tears, Creole hugged each and every one of the creatures and made them all her friends. Never judge someone by the way he looks, or a book by the way it's covered, for inside those tattered pages, there's a lot to be discovered.